In this class activity, we're going to sketch a sinusoidal map projection of the world. So it's important to remember that this is just a sketch. We're not actually being mathematically rigorous about this in every way, but we're gonna approximate that by putting it on this piece of paper. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw on a line for the equator that goes all the way from -1 to +1 here. So we can see that our latitude is labeled in the way we'd typically expect, 0, 30, 60, 90. But our longitude is just basically how long these lines of latitude are going to be. So if they're going to be full length, they'll go from -1 to +1. And if they're going to be shorter, they'll go to different values that we'll calculate. So let's put on that line for the equator. It's going to start at -1. And it's going to go all the way to 1. And once again, I'm just going to make that black line. I'm going to make it thicker so we can see it well. I'm going to give it no shadows. And I have a nice line on there now that I like for the equator. Just a little bit lower on this side. There we go. Now, with a sinusoidal map projection, all the lines of longitude will converge at the North Pole and the South Pole into a point. So I'm going to add a point where those two are. I'm going to use my shapes here, some basic shapes, a circle. I'll just draw it out here until I have a chance to move it. If you hold down the shift key, it'll stay as a circle. And then I'm going to make the fill black, the line, no line, and no shadow once again. Once I have the way I'm going to look at it, I'm going to copy and paste it so that I have two of those, one for the North Pole and one for the South Pole. And then I'm just going to move this one right to here at 90 degrees north, and I'll put it just to center it. I'll just put it at 0 degrees longitude, and another one down here. So now we already have one line and 2 points on our map projection. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the outer line. So this would represent like a +180 line over here and a -180 line over here. And I'm going to draw those with this drawing tool here. Once again, you can do this by hand if you want to, but if you're doing it in PowerPoint, you might choose this drawing tool because it makes a nice smooth line. But before we can do that, we're going to put in lines of latitude for 30 and 60. And those are going to be symmetrical on the north side and the south side of this map projection. So in order to do that, we have to do a little calculation here. I'm going to open up my calculator. And you'll need a scientific calculator for this. I'm going to do 30 degrees north. And even though this is called a sinusoidal map projection, we're going to take the cosine of 30 degrees. It's a sine function, but it's just what we use. And as you can see, if we take the sine of 30 degrees, we get 0.866. So that's how far we're going to make this 30-degree line of latitude go in either direction. So I'm going to, I'm going to select this, copy and paste it. But I'm going to shrink this one up, right? So this is at 30 degrees. It's going to start at 0.866. So here's -0.8 here, 0.82, 0.84, 0.86, and 0.866 would be right around here. And then I'm just going to grab the end of this and shorten it so that this one also comes out to 2.866, like that. And once I have that, and it's the right length, I can copy and paste that one. And because the one south of the equator will be the same length, I'm just going to put it in right there. So the two of them line up. So that's how long the line of latitude would be on a sinusoidal map projection, approximately at 30 degrees north. And now I'm going to once again paste that. And the one up here is going to be even shorter. So if I bring my calculator back, I'm going to clear this calculation. And I'm going to do 60 degrees, take the cosine, and that's equal to exactly 0.5, as you may remember. So this one is going to start at 0.5. Here's 0.4 here, 0.6 here. So it's going to be halfway between those right here. And it's going to end at 0.5 on this side. So minus 0.5 to plus 0.5. And that's going to be our line of latitude. That's how long our line of latitude is at 60 degrees north. And the same at minus 60 degrees. So now we have on our lines, if we wanted to make sure we were correct at the equator North Pole, we could put in 90 degrees at the North Pole, take the cosine, and we would get a line of 0 length. That's what our dot represents. And if we were at the equator, that would be a latitude of 0. If we take the cosine of 0, we get 1, and that's how long our line is there. So we have all of our lines in of latitude at the right length now. What we now want to do is we want to add some lines to represent the lines of longitude. The lines of longitude for the outer edge for plus minus 180 are going to touch this point here, the end of this line, 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 and this point. So I'm going to draw that on using that line tool I mentioned before, this one here. I'm going to start at the North Pole, click once, come over here, click again, here, click again, finally here, click again, here again, and double click here. So I have this line on. I'm going to once again style that. I'm going to make it black. And I'm going to make it thicker. And I'm going to take away its shadow. So now we have this line here that would represent the 180 degrees line of longitude. It's not at all like the plate carré projection, right? It's very curved, and that's the way we want it. So I'm going to copy and paste this one. And once I've copied and pasted it, I'm going to overlay it exactly with what the previous line was. Oops, if you ever do that, I just move the background. I'm just going to click on that to unmove the background. I want to select this line only. I want to move it up. Once again, undo. I'm going to move it up here until it overlays this one exactly. And then I'm just going to grab the end of it and I'm going to move it to the other side. So that would be the other side, the minus 180 degree line on this plate carré map, or on this sinusoidal map projection. And I'm going to paste that one again. And just going to select this one. Oops. And move it up till it's right on top again. And now I'm going to just move in this side until it crosses the 0.5 line right at the equator. So this would be equivalent of 90 degrees, positive 90 degrees longitude line. It's halfway between the 180 degree longitude line and the 0 degree longitude line. And that made me realize I have not yet put on my 0 degree longitude line, so I'm just going to take one of these lines, one of these straight lines, cut and paste it. And then I'm just going to put that on as, I'm just going to move that. So it's a vertical line going from the North Pole to the South Pole. And that's going to be my line of 0 longitude. And then I want the same over here. I'm going to make a new line. Undo that. Hard to not select that. Put it on at the same place and bring it into until it crosses the equator at 0.5, negative 0.5. Okay. So this would be something like a sinusoidal map projection. It tries to account for that problem we have with the plate carré, that the North Pole and the South Pole are stretched out to lines as long as the equator. And it does so using a geometric sine function. so that we can account for how those lines of latitude are shortening as we move towards the North Pole and the South Pole. So please complete this drawing and upload this as the class activity.